What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Terrier Owner YouTube channel. Josh here with TerrierOwner.com. And today, guys, we are going to finally cover a video topic that a lot of you in the comments have been asking for. It is going to be all about wet dog food versus dry dog food, what I feed Luna, and some of the pros and cons of each. It's coming up next, so stick around. All right, guys, like I said, welcome back to the channel. Happy to have you back. This is gonna be one of two videos, so this week and next week's, where Luna won't be in the video as often as usual. You got Graham here behind me, laying on the couch just watching this all take place. I'm not sure how good you can see that, but Luna's outside right now enjoying herself, and I wanted to give her a break for a video or two and not make her sit through these. And this is a topic as well. We're talking about dog food, so just having this can of dog food out would make her not sit so patiently as she usually does for these videos. So I want to cover these. It's something that people have been asking for, so let's start diving into it. But before we do, still smash that thumbs up button for us. You guys know that that helps us out dramatically with this channel. It helps us get seen by others with Jack Russell owners. Takes 2 seconds out of your time. And if you're not subscribed, consider doing so if you're interested in that. Hit the notification button so you're notified every Sunday at 11 a.m. when the new videos come out. And never forget to check out TerrierOwner.com. And now, guys, I want to dive into what I feed Luna and the pros and cons of each when it comes to wet food versus dry food. And I do understand that you have other options in the mix as well. That's not the only two. You have raw meat diets. You have just plenty of other things that you can consider as a dog owner. But for this conversation in particular, I want to just cover wet versus dry because those are the two most popular. And I also want to be clear that this is not Luna's primary diet. This isn't even what she eats. She actually eats dry food. She eats Blue Buffalo chicken and rice formula. The same thing my big dog eats, but I have fed her. Graham must be itching his own ear because he always does that moaning sound when he does that. But I have fed her wet food, and I'll talk about some of this more into the video here soon and let you know like what benefits you can get out of each. But let's start just with why you would ever consider wet food in the first place, especially if you're new to owning a dog and you've never used really either or. So a lot of people just don't know the difference. You just see them in a grocery store aisle and you have no idea which one is more beneficial. In general, wet food is less processed, usually, because it takes a lot to grind up little bits of kibble to make dry food. There's more processing that takes place. And wet food is also going to have a higher concentration of protein and fat. So this is a pro from the side of weight gain. It's going to help with obesity type issues in the future, but at the same time, it can also lead to things like diarrhea, which I'll cover in the cons, especially if your dog's not used to it. But that's pro number one, is it's generally considered healthier, but the caveat to that is you got to be careful though. This is a very cheap can of wet dog food, Pedigree. I think these are $1. I want to say they're about $1.30 per can. You get 12 of them for about 15 bucks. You can get them at any Petco, Walmart, really any store that sells pet food is going to have this kind of dog food on hand. So wet food can also be cheap if you're buying cheap brands of it. And that's not saying anything bad against Pedigree. Good, well-known dog food brand. It's just simply saying that there is more natural wet foods out there. There are more high-end options. So you got to be careful with what you buy, thinking that you're automatically just making your dog healthier using it, because that's not always true. So another one of the pros to wet food, especially comes to fruition in the summertime, is wet food can actually promote more hydration. So inside of these cans, guys, you have a more water-based product. So naturally in the heat of the summer, wet food can promote more hydration. You just get, a little bit more, especially for dogs who are a little reluctant to lap up water that quickly. Big dogs like Graham back here, sitting there. There's a dog gate I always reference, telling you guys to get one if you need some peace and quiet for a minute. He'll lap up 2 bowls of water in 30 seconds. Luna, on the other hand, Luna's very particular about everything she does. She eats slowly, she drinks water slowly. Just two different dogs in that respect. But That is another pro of wet dog food, is it can promote some hydration, especially if you're in a climate where it gets very hot and humid and your dog is outside exercising a lot, or, you know, losing those fluids because they're getting hot. Pro number 3, guys, about wet food is it has less preservatives. So you're gonna have, you know, it's not meant to last for nearly as long as a bag of kibble or something like that. So there's less of that, those additives added into wet food. They are still present, so again, you gotta be careful thinking that you're automatically getting tons of health benefits. You are getting them, but you still need to be careful with the product that you're buying. But overall, you know, when we go back to the processing that we talked about, plus the preservatives, wet food in general is, I mean, it's more human-like, right? That's the easiest way to put it. Like, those are vegetables in these. This is beef stew. You know, is it processed beef? Yes. This isn't fresh, all natural, you know, pedigree. But a bag of dry food, just picture that, how processed that is. And that's not saying not to use it. There's a lot of high quality dry foods out there, and I've been using that Blue Buffalo chicken and rice formula with Graham and Luna. Graham is gonna be 7 years old on his next birthday, Luna going on 3, so never had any problems with it. But I do wanna say another pro for the Jack Russells in particular is, if your dog is anything like Luna, where she eats slowly, she eats when she chooses kind of deal, and there's another dog present, especially when they're a beast like Graham here that's now laying down, just kind of chilling out, relaxing. Next week's video is all about jealousy, so let me get off topic here for a minute, but one of the things that Jack Russells absolutely hate is when another dog gets near their food. They're protective of it. That's just in their natural behavior to act like that. And Graham eats everything that comes in front of his mouth. He's like a carp at the bottom of a lake. He just sucks up. He's like a vacuum. So wet food, if you give your Jack Russell wet food, you can make it work, and there's no diarrhea, and it's a healthy brand. What I've noticed with Luna when we have tried wet food is she will eat this stuff up like that, which is kind of awesome, because you get to, I have no problem with a dog that wants to take their time eating, but for any of you who own multiple dogs and they share a room like Graham and Luna do, and one of them eats quickly and one of them doesn't, I'm assuming that you can predict the problem with the other dog maybe taking some of the other dog's food. So wet food is really good in that respect. The dogs like it more. It tastes better. They eat it quickly. You're done with the feeding. You let them out, let them do their potty business, and you're good to go. So that's definitely another one of the big pros. But now let's get into the cons, the major cons of wet food. Like I said, definitely diarrhea causing, especially if you switch from a dry food. So never just go straight to a can of this from dry food, because they are going to poop. It's going to be liquid poop, a lot of it, and it's just not a good idea, especially on a very small digestive tract like a Jack Russell. If you're going to switch, you're going to want to do a blend. I would even start with something very minuscule, like 80-20 blend, 80% dry, 20% wet. Increase, almost like you're winging them into that new food. That will help prevent them from having that belly and digestive tract shock that makes their poop loose and the diarrhea kick in. So that is one of the cons. Wet food is also known to cause more tartar buildup. So if you hate the idea of a dog having bad breath, dry food actually promotes healthier teeth. Even some of the lower end brands do this. It's almost the process of chewing it and the ingredients in it that is helping, compared to just eating very quickly and getting the wet food down. So that is one of the, Pet MD style cons to using wet food, is more tartar buildup, not as good for the dental hygiene, diarrhea, and low-end wet foods can be just as unhealthy as low-end dry foods. So those are the cons so far that we're at. The most significant con when it comes to health with a wet dog food is it is more linked to cancer, and I'll put some of the show notes down below in the description, just referencing my sources here. I'm not a vet, I'm not a medical anything when it comes to dogs, so I have no actual case study, that I've been involved in to prove this. It's just what I pulled from my research on the topic, that it is linked to more cancer, which is typically linked to just how it's made, what's in it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not better than dry dog food. It's very tough, guys, making this video, because in my opinion, every time you guys made comments down below asking for should you do wet, dry, raw meat, I've never felt qualified to have this discussion because I just own 2 dogs. I'm not a vet. So I'm going based on research and based on my dog's behavior when they eat it. Graham is also a huge fan of wet food. So ideally, you know, if it's affordable and your dogs love it, wet food can be great. But if you want my honest answer on what I think the perfect blend is, it's very simple and not that hard to make a decision. A, track your dog's weight at vet visits. Are they still showing, you know, the hip lines? If they're staying at a healthy weight, you have a good food and you're portioning correctly. Is their poop solid, like consistently? It's as simple as that. Is their poop solid consistently? That's number 2. Do they like the food? Do they eat it, you know, in a relatively quick fashion, or is it a complete pain to get them to eat? That's number 3. And number 4, does your vet agree? And here's the thing with vets is be careful not to use a vet that's promoting a certain brand inside of their clinic. I've been to several indoor vets, and I've been to even the vets that come to your house, and typically it's not like they're a sponsor, right? You see people even on YouTube who are this video is brought to you by X and Y. That's not what I'm talking about. But if the product's sold in their store, it's reasonable to believe that they, or their vet clinic, that they want it off their shelves, or they want to buy more or make that tiny margin. So try and find a food that's not promoted by anybody, that's just recommended by tons of blogs and websites. It's recommended by reputable sources that other dog owners recommend. Or in my opinion, the very best person to listen to on these topics is a breeder, because they don't just own the dog or push a product, they breed them, right? They have every reason to raise healthy dogs. That's the biggest advice I can give you when it comes to wet versus dry. If you're going to get wet, I would do something better than pedigree. This was more to use as a prop in this video. You can also get dry food way cheaper than Blue Buffalo. The dry food that I'm using is about $60 a bag for the biggest bag that they sell. There's dry foods out there for $20, and there's dry foods out there for $80, so I'm somewhere in the middle. You gotta find what your dog likes, what makes them seem like they're functioning on all levels correctly as far as digestive, energy levels, and weight, and what you can afford, because at the end of the day, you have to pay for it. It's not, you know, something that just shows up on your doorstep. So all of those things need to come into consideration. Again, guys, something like this, you know, if you want to go with something like this, you're looking at like $1, $1.30 per can. Higher end ones can easily get to $2 to $3 per can, which for a small dog, you might get 2 servings out of that. You do need to refrigerate these if you open them and don't use the whole can, and they're only good for a couple days. So this isn't meant to be 4 meals. This is either 1 meal for a big dog or 2 for a small dog, and then refrigerate it after until you use it the next time. And again, guys, my biggest recommendation with this is consider a blend. Consider blending a wet and a dry food. You can be very cost effective by dollar cost averaging those 2 out. They can then attack the dry dog food a little bit more because it has the wet food in there, so they're gonna eat it a little bit quicker, enjoy it more, probably has more flavor for them, and you don't have to worry so much that you're making the wrong decision. They're getting some of both. And of course, guys, every single video that we post on this channel, we always want your feedback on that, especially on a topic as sensitive and with different opinions as wet food versus dry food for a dog. Drop those comments down below. We love to hear from you guys. We love to educate the community as much as possible. Again, give us a thumbs up on the video. It helps us out way more than any other gesture you can do outside of subscribing. Subscribe if you would like to and you haven't already. 11 a.m. every Sunday for our newest videos, and never forget to check out terrierowner.com. Otherwise, guys, we will see you next Sunday in the next video. We hope you're having a great summer. Take care.